Hello and welcome to my video where I'm going to be showing you and talking you through all of the considerations of our co-sleeping room. A lot of thought, consideration, reading, research, practical things went into ensuring that our room was safe and comfortable for everybody. And of course it evolved as Elba grew a little bit older, but it's pretty much been like this for a really long time. And we've gotten to the point where now we are going to be changing it again because our needs are changing. Elba is now a little bit older and our family is expanding. Before we change it, I want to share with you what it looks like and everything that we did. And then I'll show you how we're going to be changing it and all of the considerations that are going into those changes and why we're making them. Welcome if you're new here. I'm Common, mom to Elba. I do apologize for my voice being slightly missing today, but I do have to film this before we change it, so I can't keep delaying filming of this. But for co-sleeping, it was a conscious choice that we made in pregnancy already. I'm someone who reads a lot, I do a lot of research, I make a lot of intentional decisions, and this was one of those decisions. But I think that you can read a lot about it, and then it also comes to the practical experience of it. And I think that's quite valuable to share with other families, the practical considerations of it. I did a lot of reading, and this topic is covered in lots of different books that I read. But the main book that I always recommend to people when they ask me about bed sharing and co-sleeping is James McKenna's Safe Infant Sleep. It really covers a lot the benefits of why we would want to sleep this way for mom and for baby, and also all of the safety considerations around that. So on that note, just my disclaimer for today's video, I'm showing you our setup and I'm talking you through it, but nothing in my video is advice or expert opinion or me telling any other family what they should or shouldn't be doing in their homes. So please consider your family, consider your factors, and decide what is the safest, best way for your family to sleep. Now let's get into all of the factors. The first thing that you'll notice is that our bed is on the floor. I mean, it's not entirely on the floor, it is on a very small base, and it was literally the smallest base that I could get, because as soon as you've got your mattress and you're adding a base, you're starting to add height, which at Elba's age doesn't really impact her if she were to fall from this height. But a smaller baby, I would be concerned if the bed was any higher than this. So what we have underneath our bed is a metal frame with wooden slats across it, just to keep the mattress slightly off the floor. For like three main reasons. The first one is we have an organic mattress, which I'll talk about, and I didn't want to void the warranty. So usually for the warranty, you do need some kind of slats underneath it. The second one is that sleeping so close to the floor, we do vacuum this room quite often. I drop the robot vacuum in here, and it's much better for your mattress if the robot vacuum is touching the base rather than touching your actual mattress. So it's an easy way for us to keep our room as dust free as possible and then keep our mattress fine. And then the last reason, and this is not as important for me where I live, but it probably is for a lot of people in other countries, is just to ensure that your mattress doesn't get any mold underneath, because that is very prevalent in like high humid climates where a mattress is straight onto the floor. So that's just a way to protect your mattress. Here where I live, it's incredibly dry, so the odds of that happening is pretty low. But you'll see behind me we do have a humidifier in our room, and I'll talk about that setup as well, like how we made sure that that was safe and we could have the few electronics in the room that we wanted, but make sure that the cabling is not in any way unsafe. I'll link down below the bed base that I use. I got it off Amazon and I really like it, so you'll see when we change up the room. I did order another one for Elba, having her separate surface in the room as well, because it's great. It's really small, but it's big enough to meet all the requirements that you need. Right, so that's our bed kind of on the floor. I do recommend putting it on the floor for a variety of reasons. Of course, it is the safest way, but then you do have to make your room safe and all of those things that we're going to talk about. But the other thing is just for your sanity of not being worried about them rolling off the bed, especially when they get a little bit older and you're not always sleeping perfectly in a C curl anymore. It's not as necessary because they're now older and they can move about. Then it is really great to have that peace of mind that if they're going to get off the bed, it's going to be fine. I never used bed rails. I read about them, and everything I read, it did not seem safe to do so because of the entrapment. And then when your child is older, then that's like, if they can climb over, that's a further distance for them to fall off the bed. So we never did any kind of bed rail. We never did any kind of bed bumper. I just slept with Elba in the C curl. And when she was a little bit older and she actually could fall off the bed, I did make sure that on the sides I just put like a soft blanket, that if she were to fall off, even though it's such a small distance, that it would still be okay. She never fell off, thankfully. But it gives you so much peace of mind when your bed is on the floor and you just quickly need to go to the bathroom and you're not worried about your child falling off. And I'm on co-sleeping groups, and a lot of those posts are parents who got up to like make a bottle or just go to the bathroom, and then in that time their child fell off the bed. So I know it's not the thing that makes your room look the prettiest, and it might be a bit of an adjustment, but it is the safest way, and it also gives you a lot of peace of mind to just be able to quickly go to the bathroom, and it's okay to do so. Of course, that's the consideration when they're very, very small. Then I never left Elba alone on the bed and went to the bathroom. I would wake up my husband to make sure that he tended to her, or I would take her with me. So a lot of what I'm saying in this video, of course, tailor it to the age of your child. When they're very, very tiny, you go all out to do all of the super safety precautions, and then as they get older you can relax in some regards, and you have to get more safe in other regards because they can move about. The one thing that you may also see is that our bed looks huge. And it is a king-size bed, but it is turned sideways. So the width currently is what is usually the length of the bed, and that gives us more width to sleep across it, which is really nice and gives us more space, especially for the toddler phase of rolling around. And of course, if there are 3 of us sleeping in the bed, but I will say we don't sleep 3 of us in the bed. It's just me and Elba. And then my husband Ian prefers to sleep on a separate surface in the bed. The reason you don't see it is because he, for body mechanics reasons, really likes like an incredibly firm surface to sleep on. And he's taken inspiration from the cultures that roll up their beds. So his bed is, he rolls it out at night and then he rolls it back up in the morning. But for parts of the night he may sleep on the bed with Elba when I'm working and she wants him to. So it's just nice for us to have like all of this space by turning our bed sideways. And we are not such tall people that we need the full length of the king, and it's fine for the width to be where we put our legs. Last few things on the actual mattress is for bed sharing. It is incredibly important that it is firm and not a memory foam. So what we have, and I love it, I highly recommend it, is the Silk and Snow organic firm mattress. Because other mattresses, we initially had a normal mattress and I really didn't like the endocrine disrupting chemicals that is used to make it flame retardant, where an organic mattress is still flame retardant and safe, but it's made that way through the use of wool and other things. So when we could budget allowing for it, because they're not always very cheap, you know, wait for it to go on sale, whatever the case is, we did purchase this organic mattress and I have loved it ever since. And I'm super happy that we were able to get that. Then in terms of the bedding that is on our bed, there is a mattress protector, of course. I purchased all this stuff again now because Elba's getting her separate surface, so I'll link down below what we are using, but it's an organic cotton one, which is nice. And then our bedding. This is very important for the safety of bed sharing. Our bedding is all very breathable. You will see that there is no comforter, there is no duvet on our bed. And literally the day Elba was born, I threw our duvet off the bed, and we have since then not used a duvet on our bed again. I sold it. So what we have here is like a, I don't know what you call these things, like a cover or a throw or something, but I use it as like in place of a duvet. It's breathable, it's cotton, and then we have this blanket, which is like a muslin cloth type blanket. It's also cotton and it's also breathable. The pillows behind, I'm very minimal with pillows. You always got to keep pillows away from baby, so we use the minimum pillows that you need for comfort. Of course, Alba being 2.5 now, it's really not such a concern, but with a baby, that's a really big consideration. So one of the things that I will do before our other baby comes is that you'll see these pillows are just kind of like you put them in. I'm going to make sure that this closes with Velcro or a press stud or something, because you want everything to be tight. You don't want any loose things that can end up in your baby's face. So that's just the consideration with pillows, is like a tight pillowcase. These are also breathable pillows. They were just the ones that we got for free with the mattress that we bought. And this is our current setup for spring and summer, which we're leaving now. We're in fall now. As we go into winter, we don't add more blankets to the bed. What we have is Ian and I both have adult like sleep sacks with walkers. They've got legs. I'll link down below the one that we got, but I think there are more Canadian options if you are in Canada. We bought it from the US. It didn't seem like there were a lot of options at the time, but for winter bed sharing, we sleep in sleep sacks, and it zips in the front to make it easy for breastfeeding. Now, Elba has never slept in a sleep sack. I don't know why, it just sort of seemed impractical to put it on like after she fell asleep and things, so she just never slept in a sleep sack. But when we add another baby, we will have even less blankets, and Elba will need to start sleeping in her own little sleep sack. So I'll be purchasing that shortly for her. And we're doing all of this now, even though we've got several months, because we want to help her to transition to the things that we require strictly to be in place to ensure that all of us are comfortable and safe to share a room. The other thing, of course, I'm showing you the setup. I'm not talking about like every single thing around co-sleeping and bed sharing, but you will see I do have very long hair. For safety purposes, it is always tied up like well, or it is braided to make sure that it is not in any way a risk. Now more about the room. Because our bed is on the floor, because Alba, from literally when she could crawl off the bed, then did everything that was needed to make sure that the room itself was safe. Before she could crawl off the bed, we had some safety things, but it didn't really matter because she wasn't going to get off the bed. So from as soon as they can crawl off the bed, it's important that the room be safe, because they may crawl off without you knowing. The odds of that is quite low when you're sleeping in a sleep curl, but it's still really important nonetheless, because it can of course happen. So the first thing is, naturally, the plugs are all covered. There are no cables that are accessible by Elba in the room. And for some, I know this is very frustrating when they want to maybe have their phone charger or something like that in the room. You can see how I do this like for the first 40 days, where I'm going to probably have my laptop cable and things a bit more close to me, and I'll show my intention of how to do that safely, because I honor the first 40 days very strictly. I do like to have everything by, so I don't need to move around a lot, but from a safety perspective, we make sure that our phones are not charging in the room. The phone charger, we actually don't have a phone charger in the room. They're in other rooms, but we do have the option, should we want to charge something, that we can do it on top of the dresser. So what I did for the electronics for this room, in terms of how the dresser is positioned, in the previous room, I could just put the plug behind the dresser, and then we anchored the dresser to the wall. So there was nothing I needed to do in terms of cabling, and then we had like an extension cord that went up with like one of those multi-plugs. We could plug a bunch of things in. The layout of this room didn't allow for that. So what I did is I enclosed the plug and then I trunked the cabling all the way to the dresser so that the electronics goes behind the dresser, but it is trunked and it is closed and Elba cannot access it. We've had like a tall dresser like that since before Elba was born, with the intention of the things that go on top of it that we want to use in the room, but we want to make sure that they are safely used in the room. So you see we don't have any bedside cabinets. We got rid of those. We don't have any bedside lamps. We got rid of those. We considered like lamps that you put up here on like the bed and you position them if you want to read. But ultimately what we decided, jumping around a little bit, for reading, we just have a clip that we clip onto the book and we read with the reading light like that, instead of having more things to consider in the room. In terms of light though, because when you're tending to a baby in the night, I've always wanted to make sure that I can check on Elba and that there's like a little bit of light in the room. So we've never slept in total darkness since Elba was born. And our light source is that salt lamp that is on top of the dresser. When I was still tending to needs like changing diapers or elimination communication in the night, things like that, then we have a portable night light, which is entirely baby safe and it doesn't have any cords either, and the battery cannot be accessed. Those are things I will show in future videos when we're preparing for another baby. You'll be able to see all that stuff. Of course, now I don't really need to do any of that. There's just sufficient light for me to check on Elba, and if she gets up and wants to use her potty, that's in the room. This dresser, very important, it is anchored, and it's anchored really well. And then the drawers that Elba could access are closed to ensure that she does not try to climb it or take anything out of the drawers. She can now open the baby locks, so there was no point in putting more locks on the higher drawers because she can just open and close the lock. But they really did serve a good function of keeping her safe and keeping everything contained in there for a very long period until she was able to do that. The other thing that usually is on top of the dresser, and you'll see it in some of the footage, is our baby camera. I chose not to have one for the first year because I never wanted Elba to sleep alone in a room. But after the first year we did get a camera specifically with video because Elba doesn't wake up crying or making loads of sounds or anything like that. So it was really important for me to be able to see her rather than just hear her. So we do have one that has like a little screen and a video that we plug in when she's sleeping for certain portions of the morning or the night by herself here in the room. And that is also the cabling that is up there. It's all neatly in that box and it comes from an extension that goes behind the dresser. And of course, spoke about it, we have the humidifier that just keeps the humidity levels nice for the room. In terms of the door and behind the door stop was removed very early because she could take them off and their caps and things are not safe. So there's no door stop, we just stop Elba from whacking the door closed. And on the door handle, when she could open and close it, we don't want her leaving the room like while we're sleeping. On the door is a baby cover, so she's not able to open that door when we're all in the room with her. When she's alone in the room, the door is not closed and we are watching her on the camera. So from a safety perspective, she's able to get out of the room when we're not in the room with her. It's just for when we're in the room with her, and we need to make sure that she doesn't like walk out of here because outside of our room is not safe for her to wander like by herself. There are cables there, there's like a air purifier outside the room, there's stairs and other things. So it's just safer like this. The other thing that we needed to consider for our space is that our bathroom is entirely open plan to the room. There's no door between us and the bathroom, and the bathroom is not a safe space for Elba to wander into by herself for a variety of reasons. The mirror, the huge window that she can access, the blind, the toilet, the closet, etc. So we have a baby gate that separates our room from the bathroom that we close every single night when we sleep. It is a retractable one, so it's not like an eyesore or anything like that, and that just makes sure that this space is safe and she can't just wander into the bathroom. That's also why we have the potty set up, because she can't just wander into the bathroom. So because we did elimination communication, we've had like a potty in the room since she was born, but now she does use it independently, which is why there's the reusable mat underneath the potty, just in case of any messes or anything like that. And she can just walk off the bed, go use it, and then come back to sleep, or ask one of us to help her if she wants to. So that is set up pretty much every nighttime, and if she's napping during nap time. The rest of the time it's put away, and she uses the toilets in the house because we're awake and with her. As you can also see, there's like very little things in this room. It means a lot less to consider in terms of what is a risk and so forth. Because Alba is now a little bit older, we have left like her little doll bed with Turtle and Turtle's blankets on it, but we will have to change that when we have a baby that can crawl off the bed. And also, even though we don't, Turtle's blankets can't be in the room anymore when we have a baby and a toddler sharing the same room, because you don't want your toddler carrying a blanket to help out with the baby or anything like that. So you don't want loose blankets lying around. So Turtle's blanket is going to need to leave the room, or I will sew something that is a bit like safer and just kind of stays on the bed. I'm going to try to figure out, because she's quite attached to Turtle and his blanket. Then we have our books and the bookshelf. It's drilled in. It can't fall over because it's literally shelves attached to the wall. That's also an important consideration if you do have a bookshelf that can fall over. And that's almost all of the considerations. So the one thing, there's not really anything that I can do about this because we rent, we don't own this home, is that this room has a blind in it, and I would prefer it not to, or I would prefer it to have a blind that doesn't have any cords. So I did the best that I could given this, and we make sure to tie up the cords like the whole time. There's never cords that can be a risk. And also, even with the blind down, we pretty much sleep with it in a way that she's not able to like stick her head through it or anything like that. So we just sleep with it a little bit open and have a little bit more light come through. If we were a family that really wanted to sleep in the dark, we don't mind like the sun coming up and things like that, then I would probably have put some kind of blackout curtain or something. But for us, I just make sure that the blind is not, she's not able to access it or the cords in any way that is unsafe. And that is the current bed sharing setup. We make sure that even when we go to sleep, we don't leave anything lying next to the bed that can be of any kind of a risk. Be it like, now that she's older, of course, like it's not that much the safety thing. Sometimes it's a risk to the thing. So I won't, for example, if I'm making notes on my tablet, I won't leave my tablet just lying next to the bed. I will always put it up in the dresser. One of those drawers has like a few of me and Ian's things in there, like some of our books and reading light and our Kindle and sometimes the tablet. We put them up there. If Ian is doing, like, he likes to do mathematical puzzles, whenever I come back into the room, I will put that stuff up and we won't leave anything lying around on the floor. Even if it's stuff like a water bottle or anything like that, we put it up. Oh, I should mention, that was one of the things that we had to do recently that was not necessary for a very long time. Alba was breastfed exclusively for like most of her life, and then with pregnancy it changes your milk supply, or it did mine, such that it was not sufficient for her anymore and she was asking for something else to drink in the nighttime. And we brainstormed and Ian came up with a nice plan, and it worked for us for the months that it was necessary. Now we've gone back to, she doesn't need it anymore. But what we did for a while there, and what we sometimes still do for her, is we have a little cooler bag with 2 ice bricks in it and her stainless steel cup, and we put some milk in there for her if she wants to have that during the night. I cut off the handles of the cooler bag to make sure that it's entirely safe. There's no like loose parts of it. She can open it herself. She can take the milk out and she can put it back. That's what we've done for a couple of weeks now, but we've gotten to the point where she just sleeps through and she doesn't feel the need to drink anything in the night anymore, so we're not really doing that at the moment. So that would have been the only beverage type thing that was on the floor in the room. And that is it for the current setup and how we have been sleeping for a long time. Now we're going to be changing that up because Alba is a little bit older. We have got her separate surface. She is not quite excited about sleeping on it just yet, which is completely fine. We are in no shape or form trying to rush her to do that or anything. We're just doing it to give her the option, especially if we're needing some space when there's another baby. Maybe she wants to sleep there on that surface with Ian or something like that. So we've decided it's time to make that option. In terms of consideration for a future baby, the other thing is that you can do a lot of planning and transitioning for your current child, but then you don't exactly know how things are going to work out. So when that time comes, we will also make sure that we do have a safe sleep setup should Alba and Ian want to or need to go sleep in a separate room, maybe for a few days or whatever. So we will make sure that just as a backup plan that is done. But the hope is that we are able to prepare Alba well now and go through this transition now in the few months that we have to do so, such that we do find a way to all sleep happily together until such time as Alba decides that she maybe wants a different room, and then we cross that bridge. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, we are a sleep in the same room family by choice and we love it, but as our children grow, we will make changes as necessary. I'm gonna go get Ian to help me to change up the room, and I'm excited to show you what it looks like when we're done. I'm also excited to see what it looks like. And that is the final form of the room for now. Of course, once baby is here with us, we will make some more adaptations, and I'll show that in different types of videos. That will be more around like the practical, easy potty stuff and where to have the baby stuff next to the bed for easy changing and all of that kind of stuff. But for now, this is going to be our final form for the next few months. As you saw, our king size bed has shifted to the side, but there is still enough space between where I'm sitting right now and the wall and the bookshelf for it not to be an entrapment hazard. There's also like an air vent there, so we'll get some hot air blowing in our face, but there's a filter in the air vent and all the things. And then we have the twin size bed for Alba over there. It is the exact same as ours. It is a Silk and Snow organic firm and with an organic cotton mattress cover, the same bed base as the king has because it's really nice and small. and just gets the bed off the ground. So the beds are not pushed together, which just allows separation. So if she wants to sleep in the bed, she can sleep in the bed with me. But if she wants to sleep on her bed and have that separate space, then she's got that now. Like I explained at the beginning of the video, Ian does roll out his bed, which is like an incredibly firm surface, barely a mattress, and he will do that in between the king size bed and the twin size bed. The dresser we moved, we put a plug behind it with an extension cord that runs up the back for the humidifier, the baby camera, and the salt lamp. Those are the three things that we plug in there. And then of course we have the baby gate that closes between the room and the bathroom. So this is our step towards transitioning to a different co-sleeping space for our little family, and we're gonna see how it goes for the next few months. And then we'll do whatever we need to do to prep for baby, but it won't be like structural things. It will just be like making sure that I'm able to have my nourishing drinks next to the bed and things like that. I hope that this has been useful in terms of seeing the practical setup of a family that co-sleeps in one room, and just the considerations that we put into like where things go and how. And of course, like, I totally acknowledge that this is not the most aesthetically pleasing, and maybe people who are not used to this kind of setup may, if they see our bedroom, think it's odd. And to be honest, so few people come into our bedroom anyway, and the people that do are usually other parents, so they completely understand the setup. But the only reason people are seeing our bedroom is because I'm filming it. So for us, what looks nice is just that it's comfortable, it's practical, it has some plants. We feel good in this space. It feels light. It feels, yeah, spacious, even though there's two beds in here. But nobody's putting this in a catalog unless it's a catalog for how to co-sleep safely and practically. The one thing I didn't mention, having your bed against the wall, it's always incredibly important to check that it hasn't moved away from the wall, especially with bed bases like these that are quite easy to move. So we always check that the bed is completely pushed against the wall and that there's not like a space over there that is a risk. And with that, I'm gonna end off today's video and go have some supper. I am very sorry about my voice. It will be back, I hope, in the next video. But yeah, if you found value in this video, please like, and if there's any practical tips that you want to share, or share anything around your setup in the comments down below for other people, I'm sure that they will find it helpful, and I'm sure that I will find it helpful. So thank you so much.